Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to this public forum on capital projects, something we used to do a few years ago and then stopped during COVID, but we wanted to get this back on track. And we have a sign-up sheet here. I'm going to turn it over to the chairman of the BET in a second, but we're going to ask people to keep their remarks to about 2 minutes, and if you want to follow up, to email us on that. But again, this is it's not a debate. It's just to hear your thoughts on capital projects and what you might like to see the town fund. So thanks again for everybody coming out tonight, and I'll turn it over to Harry.
I'll echo that. Thanks for everybody's interest. Over in the side table are sign-up sheets. If you want to speak, you need to sign up. So I'll announce the speaker and the next person, so you're on deck okay. So the first speaker is Ashley Cole regarding the high school second egress and Cardinal Road, followed by Mary Brown. Ashley?
She's coming up.
There she is.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all.
Ashley, you can't wear Darien blue this week.
This is actually Carolina blue.
It is.
Because I'm Carolina.
You're a Tar Heel.
Unfortunately,
We
at
don't
this
need a
juncture, I am. Football's not pretty right
No.
now, but
Push,
nevertheless.
Ashley, push the button.
Oh, okay.
There you
Hi,
go.
everybody. You know why I'm here. I'm one of the founding members of the Hillside Road Traffic and Safety Commission, and I've also most recently been on the Greenwich High School Security Vestibule Building Committee. So I've been advocating for safety for our neighborhood and our high school for over a decade. And I'm here to beg you to please fund the Greenwich High School Cardinal Road second egress. It's really past time. As a matter of fact, I'm here holding the 2019 safety guide that was done by Fuss and O'Neill as part of our safety commission. And it really spells it out, that the safety of our community, and it's not just, our neighborhood or me, it's everybody who travels on Hillside Road. 2,700 and change students, administrators, teachers, employees. We really need this second egress for safety in our community. Imagine an emergency that happens at Greenwich High School. The roads will be clogged and emergency vehicles won't be able to get in. And I also want to remind you about the Connecticut Department of Transportation Bridge project between Brookridge and Hillside, which will lift the bridge and put one lane in each direction on the post road. This will be a massive problem for our community. We will need kids to get into school safety. This egress is necessary. It's also, most recently, I heard the pool committee discuss the new pool project, and they incorporate the new egress into the project. I think it's a good situation for everybody in town. Thank you so much for your time and your service to our lovely town.
Thank you. Mary Brown on the capital projects process, followed by Catherine Pushkar. Sorry.
Good evening. I'm Mary Brown. I'm Vice President for Advocacy at the League of Women Voters of Greenwich. The League of Women Voters, of course, is a nonpartisan organization. We don't support any party or any candidate for political office. And I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the League and behalf of a recent study, not too recent, but goes back to 2023, that we did relating to capital projects here in Greenwich. The League of Women Voters of Greenwich commends our town officials for holding this meeting and for bringing attention to Greenwich's capital projects process. I'm not here to advocate for any specific project. Rather, I want to highlight the importance of having a strong, transparent process for planning and managing capital projects. The League of Women Voters Greenwich undertook an in-depth study of the town's capital planning process beginning in 2019, with findings published in 2023. I believe many of the folks up here on the dais were interviewed as part of that process. The full report, findings and recommendations of the Capital Project Study Committee, is available on our website, and I encourage everyone interested in this issue to review it. Tonight, I'd like to briefly summarize 8 key findings and recommendations that the League of Women Voters Greenwich believes should guide the town's efforts as it moves forward to develop what we hope will be a comprehensive capital planning process. First, a long-term strategic vision, updated regularly and built with broad input to guide priorities. And I see I've got 30 seconds left, so I'm going to rush through the rest of these. A multi-year financial plan, a shared financial model, transparent and regularly updated priorities, meaningful public engagement. Tonight, I think, is a great example of a start on that. Professional project oversight and post-completion evaluation, a more efficient budget cycle, full and reasonable use of the town's financial capabilities. So the League of Women Voters Greenwich hopes that as the town moves forward from this meeting, these principles will inform a transparent, disciplined, and forward-looking capital planning process that serves all of the residents of Greenwich well. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for holding this meeting.
Thank you. If you've got more of your remarks you couldn't get to, you'd want to submit them to Leo over on the table over there, and she'll circulate it to us. That's something for everybody if they want to submit things in writing. Catherine Pushkar, followed by Jocelyn Michaels and Virginia Lockhart.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Catherine Pushkar, and I live on Hillside Road, and I'm here to voice my support for building a second egress to Greenwich High School. Every morning, about 3,000 students, faculty, and staff make their way to GHS, and that's almost 5% of our town population turning onto Hillside to get to school on time. If you haven't experienced it, I promise you it's a ferocious bottleneck. Traffic backs up in both directions, cars are at a standstill, and residents can't get in or out. And then 7 hours later, it all happens again. But there's something far more concerning than the daily stress and inconvenience felt by so many, and that's the safety factor. Driving safety, to be sure, I have seen some crazy moves by frustrated parents just trying to drop off a kid, but I cannot be the only person who's thought, what if something happens? I'm awfully glad it hasn't, but shame on us if or when it does. For a school this size, a single vehicular entrance and exit on a residential street is almost willfully inadequate. In an emergency, whether it's fire, lockdown, or medical crisis, one access point is just a huge risk. A second egress would relieve daily congestion, improve emergency response, and make life safer for everyone, students, families, and yes, neighbors. These plans have been discussed for years. It's time to move from discussion to action. I urge the town and the BET to prioritize and fund this project now. The safety and daily well-being of our community shouldn't have to wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Jocelyn Michaels and Virginia Lockhart regarding Riverside School, followed by Sarah Inasinger. And if I butcher names, please accept my apologies.
Good evening. I'm Jocelyn Michaels, one of Riverside School's co-PTA presidents.
And I'm Virginia Lockhart, the other one.
As you know, the Riverside School renovation is one of the town's major capital projects currently in the hopper. You also know that our school community has repeatedly shown up to show our voice and show our support for this project. Before the Riverside renovation was even up for consideration in the town's capital budget, members of our community were speaking or submitting written comments and have continued to do so at nearly every budget-related BET public hearing since January 2022.
So if you do the math, Riverside families have been advocating for this project for nearly 4 years, sharing anecdotes, providing compelling data, and even hosting a building tour for BET members to highlight the many problems with the school building that include but are not limited to critical safety, security, and accessibility issues, grades 3 through 5 homerooms, plus the art and music classrooms used by all students are on the second floor and only accessible by stairs because the building has no elevator. And the building also has no fire sprinklers.
We also have severe space constraints. Just 2 years ago, we came dangerously close to not having enough general education classrooms. Bloated class sections in some grade levels that exceeded district guidelines helped us avoid that outcome. Our classrooms are meaningfully smaller than the prevailing K-5 standard and are among the smallest in the district. Once JC's cafeteria expansion is complete, we will have the smallest K-5 cafeteria in the district, despite having the second highest K-5 enrollment, and some instructors lack a dedicated classroom space.
And the list goes on. The problems have persisted for years and will continue to persist, even with any anticipated dips in student enrollment. That said, what the building committee recently put forth by the Board of Selectmen and slated for approval by the RTM next month will provide the proper spaces and fixtures that will equip it for 21st century learning.
All told, this project has been a long time coming, and if executed at its full scope, will be a worthwhile investment that will last for decades to come. To that end, we ask Mr. Camillo and the BET to support the building committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, an essay? Sorry.
That's okay.
Followed
I'm used
by
to it.
Alexandra Kavulich.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sarah Iannisi. I'm mother of 3 with my oldest at Riverside Elementary School as a kindergartner. Thank you for providing this opportunity for residents to be here tonight to focus exclusively on the town's capital projects. Many other Riverside School parents were disappointed they could not be here in person to voice and show their support for the Riverside renovation project. When the facilities master plan was unveiled, Riverside was identified as one of the school buildings in greatest need of major upgrades. Nearly a decade later, the key issues identified in the building remain unchanged, particularly around safety, security, accessibility, and space. The Riverside school community is excited about the upcoming renovation project, which, in accordance with the ed specs approved by the BOE earlier this year, will give the building and the more than 500 students and staff members inside it each day what it has needed for years. We understand the difficult decisions you must make to prioritize the seemingly unlimited wants and needs in a town and public school system as big as ours, particularly within the context of the other major projects currently happening or poised to happen elsewhere in town. To that end, the BOE unanimous approval of the project's ed specs, the BET's unanimous approval of the A&E funds in the current year's budget, and the Board of Selectmen's recent nomination of the Building Committee are a testament to the town's commitment to creating the best learning environment for our children. Riverside school families, thank you for continuing to make this project a priority. As you begin to focus on the town's capital plan during the upcoming budget cycle, we ask that you remain committed to prioritizing this project by allocating an estimated $43 million for construction in fiscal year 2027-2028. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Kavulich, followed by Stephen Pezdek.
Hi, my name is Ali Kavulich. I'm a mom of 3 in Riverside, 2 of which are at Riverside Elementary, with the 3rd incoming in 2 years. First, I'd like to thank the BET and First Selectman Camillo for the steps they have taken in response to the community's needs to move the Riverside School renovation forward in an expeditious and financially sound way. In this very room, just 10 months ago, during the BET Budget Committee's public hearing, several Riverside School parents, staff members, and even a student shared an array of experiences that conveyed how disruptive and even hazardous school can be for Riverside students with disabilities or injuries, and how often sacrifices must be made due to the building's undersized spaces and shortage of rooms needed for modern-day learning. January's multifaceted testimony emphasized the urgency of the building's issues and how the project's ed specs, which were unanimously approved by the BOE, provide a way to resolve them in a practical manner. The plans laid out in the ed specs focus on necessity, not luxury, amounting to an estimated $43 million of construction work on the building. While a project of this magnitude may prompt some to wonder if building an entirely new school makes more economic sense, feasibility established that the current building is well constructed with timeless features that are worth preserving where possible. The building is a neighborhood gem, and while it has many shortcomings in its current condition, it is not broken beyond repair. With all that in mind, a renovation is the reasonable approach. Over the course of the year, several stakeholders have followed the procedural steps we have in town and taken actions to advance this project. The feasibility committee created a sensible plan to properly address the building's issues, and the BOE acted decisively to approve that plan. The First Selectman publicly endorsed and prioritized the project in its January 2025 budget presentation, and the BET unanimously approved the A&E funds for the current fiscal year. The Board of Selectmen recently nominated a building committee, and our community of parents, staff, students, and neighbors has consistently spoken, written about, and shown up to express why this project is urgently needed. We are grateful for this progress and eager to see continued momentum as the building committee begins its work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stephen Pezdek, followed by Caitlin Wardell.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Stefan Pezdek. I'm the father of 2 Riverside students, and I also have over 20 years of building and infrastructure work for large government projects, multi-million-dollar projects over the course of many years. I'd like to resoundingly, first off, support the Riverside School effort. The school is one of the best schools in the state of Connecticut, but that's surely due to the efforts of the staff and administration, because the school and its infrastructure are sorely in need of capacity and infrastructure improvement. My colleagues, other parents have just voiced many of the concerns and the issues. I don't need to continue to highlight those, but I'm sure you're all aware of those. I have noticed, though, that the capital plan over the past few years has remained pretty static in terms of the costs. Meantime, national costs are increasing at a 6 to 7% increase year over year. That's a significant understanding that we need to bring into any of these development projects. And I've also noticed that we need to recognize these projects take time to develop and that ensure that the projects meet the needs and requirements of the community. Finally, I just want to point out that this means that we need to understand our priorities, set the contingencies, and also maintain or even improve our standards for buildings and make sure that they're sustainable and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you. Caitlin Wardell, followed by Steve Waters.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Wardell. I live in Riverside and have 2 children. One is in 7th grade at EMS and the other is in 5th grade at Riverside. I'm here tonight in support of the much-needed renovation to Riverside School. I know you've heard this before, but it bears repeating. Riverside has some of the smallest classrooms in the district, averaging 738 square foot. This figure is significantly below the Connecticut standard of 850 square feet for grades 1 through 5 and 1,100 square feet for kindergarten. In fact, 80% of our classrooms and 100% of our grades 3 through 5 classrooms fall below the state standard for classroom size. 2 years ago at Riverside, where we have some of the smallest classrooms in the district, our 4th grade classes exceeded district guidelines because we didn't have enough classrooms to distribute students appropriately. Large class sizes are challenging enough, but overcrowded classrooms in undersized classrooms create chaos that our students and teachers should not have to endure. And for proof that these adverse learning environments hurt students, that year's 4th grade had low SBA scores. The SBA is the Connecticut state standard for grades 3 through 8. The proposed renovation plan will reduce the number of classrooms that are below the state standard to 35%. This is a reasonable, not excessive outcome for our school. Our cafeteria and kitchen paint a similarly stark picture. Riverside has the smallest K through 5 cafeteria and kitchen in the district. This makes lunchtime feel chaotic, exacerbating, so making it larger is an improvement, but certainly not extravagant. The Riverside real estate market is robust. The town of Greenwich collects taxes commensurate with high real estate valuations. People willing to pay these housing prices and taxes don't want to send their kids to old, overcrowded schools. If the town of Greenwich wants to continue to benefit from the Riverside tax base, it needs to invest in our school. Otherwise, you make Darien look more and more attractive. Lastly, I know Fred Camillo, who I voted for, wants to erect a statue to President George Bush, who in 1990 established the Americans with Disability Act.
Thank you. Steve Waters, followed by Francis Nobe.
Thank you, Harry. Nice to see all of you again. My name is Steve Waters. I'm a 49-year resident of the town and newly elected to the RTM from District 7, but I'm speaking to you in a private capacity. I was the co-chair of the LWV Greenwich Capital Project study that you heard, and saw many of you about it. It was a bipartisan committee of 10. It was approved, that committee was unanimous in its recommendations, as were the membership of the league, 117 to 0. We asked that the town could have a better capital plan that goes out more than 1 year, should go out more than 5, candidly. It should be transparent to the voters. Priorities should be discussed publicly, not privately. We ask that all big projects be fully vetted and costed in a standard way, that they be approved, ideally in a bipartisan way, that they be monitored while they're underway and audited when they're completed. And these are obvious considerations and obvious statements, but it's not what we do today. The process requires more of your time, and maybe at the expense of the budget, but when you do it, you will save Greenwich, in our minds, tens of millions of dollars. Voters will understand what's coming when. They have asked you to do this, and it takes leadership, and that's what we would ask you to consider doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Francis Nove, followed by James Waters.
Hello, my name is Frances Wu Nobe, and I serve as the Facilities Committee Chair for the PTA Council, the umbrella organization representing PTAs across all 15 Greenwich Public Schools. On behalf of our public school community, we express our strong support for the Board of Education's FY27 capital request. The FY27 plan moves key priorities forward. Central Middle School, Julian Curtis, and Old Greenwich School are projects that have long awaited and urgently needed. You will also see Western Middle School field lighting, GHS HVAC, and GHS pool A&E included, plus cafeteria, furniture, and maintenance items that keep our schools safe, ADA compliant, and open for learning every single day. For FY28, please don't delay River School project nor the GHS pool project. Both projects must move forward. Now an ad. A dedicated school bus parking lot needs to be added to the capital budget. We're 5 months into the new bus contract without a place to permanently park the buses for GPS. Temporary fixes like parking 80 buses on the Western Middle School recess field, asking Julian Curtis teachers to leave their classrooms midday and move their cars out of staff parking, or forcing traffic to squeeze past parked buses on Lake Avenue is inequitable, inappropriate, and as winter approaches, unsafe. Other districts, Darien, New Canaan, New Fairfield, Stamford, Westport, have all tackled this challenge with planning and creativity. We can too. Please invest in a long-term local solution, whether by acquiring new land or reconfiguring existing sites. One idea worth exploring, Fred: create a town parking facility that could accommodate 80 school buses and also house the town fleet currently located at Roger Sherman Baldwin Park. It's practical, efficient, and forward-looking. As you deliberate, we urge you to fully fund the FY27 capital budget, but with the addition of a dedicated school bus parking lot. These projects are not wish lists, they're commitments to our students, our teachers, and to the future of Greenwich. Thank you.
Thank you. James Waters, followed by Matthew Murphy.
All right, good evening, Mr. Camillo and members of the BET. Thanks for calling this public input session on town capital projects. I'm James Waters, and I live in Old Greenwich. As you know, I'm a District 12 RTM member, chair of the Budget Overview Committee, and chair of the Old Greenwich School Building Committee. I'd offer a few personal thoughts tonight. First, I'd suggest this hearing be part of a broader effort to get our town's capital planning on track. The input we hear on the RTM is that this needs to include several components. 1, ensuring there's appropriate oversight of town capital projects. 2, reinstating a process to prioritize projects. 3, updating the cost data for the capital projects. And 4, considering alternatives for financing the projects. If we can create a better process for this, the town and taxpayers will benefit. Second, we have major projects both underway and coming into view. In my mind, those include, first, the new Central Middle School. While funded and underway, we can't take our eye off the ball on getting the new school open next fall. 2, the renovation of Old Greenwich School. The project is currently out to bid. We'll keep you in the loop as our bids come in. We're aiming to start construction this spring. Third, the replacement of the Hamel Rink. I look forward to hearing where the new task force lands so we can finally move this forward. This seems a perfect opportunity for a significant public-private partnership to be a core component of the plan. Fourth, the replacement of the Greenwich High School natatorium along with the Cardinal driveway. The Board of Ed will consider the ed specs for this combined project in the coming weeks. With the old pool on the verge of failure and the driveway long delayed, it's time to get the A&E process started. A public-private partnership will be a core part of this plan. 5, the renovation of Old Riverside School. I look forward to hearing from the building committee nominees at the RTM in December, and am standing by to share OGS lessons learned so they can hit the ground running. Thanks for your consideration. I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. Matthew Murphy, followed by Stephen Miller.
Hello, members of the BET and Mr. Camillo. I'm Matthew Murphy, and I live in Coscob. This town has a very rich history of swimming, water polo, and diving. It's part of the fabric of this town. The existing pool, which is aged 57 years, has had a remarkable return on investment in the form of creating championship teams and helping countless kids become well-rounded student athletes. But the pool is on its last legs. I urge the committee to fund the pool replacement quickly so we can get a similar return on investment for our children and for many generations to come. Thank you for your consideration in prioritizing this project.
Thank you. Stephen Miller, followed by Janet Stone McGuigan.
Evening. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here.
Is that working?
Is it working now?
There it is.
There we go. I'm also a former member, or I guess current member, since it was never dismantled, of the Greenwich High School Safety and Parking Committee. And as a result, have been waiting for many, many years to see some of the ideas implemented. And as acute as the needs were back when we were on that committee and active, they're even greater now. We've created a new auditorium, which brings more people back and forth. We've added fields, which brings more people back and forth. We have invited many, many members, not of our community, to those fields. Instead of 5 days a week, there's now 7 days a week, pretty much usage over at that high school, including many, many people who have zero idea how the traffic works, only increasing the activity as well as the danger. It's time. It's time for the second egress. And just wanted to add my voice to that, and thank you all for hearing me out.
Thank you. Janet Stone McGuigan, followed by Jennifer Andrews.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with tonight. You know me as the co-chair of the Greenwich Sustainability Committee, but tonight I speak as an individual. Greenwich needs a capital plan that incorporates sustainability. By definition, a sustainable plan will be financially responsible, and a financially responsible plan will be sustainable. A financially responsible, sustainable plan also needs to be holistic. So while tonight we are talking about capital needs, we cannot ignore that capital investment and future operating expenses are inextricably linked. To only look at one side of the equation makes no sense. Specifically, I'd like to use my time to address the town's investment in renewable energy. Rather than list the many individual projects we should be promoting, many of which do not require any capital outlay, I will advocate that the town needs an energy manager. Greenwich is fortunate to be served by the Energy Management Advisory Committee and the formidable expertise of its volunteer members. But it is meant to be advisory, not perform the work of town staff. An energy manager would not replace EMAC, but rather act on its recommendations. In so doing, the position would pay for itself many times over, since we know that each year the town is leaving a lot of money on the table from untapped energy savings. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and highlight the importance of everyone coming together to safeguard the financial health of the town we all call home. Thank you.
Jennifer Andrews, followed by, I think it's Eric Scrivener. I'm sorry, but the handwriting's pretty difficult.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Andrews. I'm a member of the District 6 RTM, and I serve on the Budget Overview Committee and Public Works Committee. Last week, I attended the public information session about the multi-use path, and it was very informative. There was an overwhelming number of concerns by most in attendance, and most were opposed to any route that would be running through town, with a huge exception. There are family members, neighbors that live on the other side of Shore Road from Tomac towards Stamford, and their section of that road from the sidewalks on Shore was cut from the budget, and the project, because of this multi-use path, being considered, they thought, well, we don't want to have to rip up a sidewalk and, to put in this path. But we did learn at the information meeting that they very well may need to rip out the sidewalks that they've already put in. And I don't think it's fair that we hold these families hostage to this project. Everybody else on Shore Road is getting their sidewalk or has their sidewalk. Their children can wait for the bus safely, and these families can't. They told stories about their animals being killed, run over, people being hit, and I just ask that you consider putting that stretch back in to the project list as soon as possible, because we don't even know if this path is going to come to fruition. So I don't think they should have to wait another 2 or 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to try to read it again. Someone who lives on 78 Valleywood Road. I'm sorry, sir, but I just can't read the writing.
Ernst.
Oh, it's Ernst.
Ernst Schermer. You're the timer. So thank you for holding this meeting tonight, and also thank you to everyone and the future ones for your public service. My wish list for the next term is give each of our town 12 RTM districts an annual budget allocation, $500,000 or so, to be invested in their own district in accordance with our town's policies and procedures. That will make the RTM position for most the district chair a lot more meaningful and accountable. I'd like significantly improved and substantially more transparent communication with the general public by the BET meetings, application hours, and dates where the general public, particularly younger families with children, can actually participate. I would really like the BET to start publishing formally a monthly short and a quarterly longer newsletter, briefly informing on progress on significant town-wide items. We have too much information, it's not bundled, we just don't really have time. We deserve to get the information served clearly. The BET, please clean up and visually improve your website suites. Budget updates should not just show current versus past year or budget versus actual, but please, in the 21st century, trend line reporting over a 5-year period. Graphics are not that complicated. We can do that. BET to make funding available for one Greenwich, an urgent mobile device app. The first visit to Greenwich is not at Greenwich Avenue or Metro North Station. It's clearly on the website and a device. Also, consider as you start working on an app, we can have a one Greenwich pass and pay card. With respect to schools, particularly second egress, I fully support the other schools as well. I just quickly want to mention Central Middle School. I'm grateful for the speed control cameras, but I'm not happy that we spend more than $120 million and we ignored that 2 significant intersections within 500 steps of the current front doors were not improved. They were categorized as an F, and if you spend $120 million, we should be able to get to school and back home safely. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I want to add to Ernst, in the spirit of transparency and the building committees we're talking about, I'm going to ask that after meeting with Greenwich Community TV, that these building committees also incorporate infrastructure that allows for all these meetings to be televised at different venues, because as you said, otherwise people will not be able to, who are working won't be able to attend. So good point.
Heather DeVries, followed by Rachel Khanna.
Good evening. My name is Heather DeVries, and I have 2 children in the Greenwich Public Schools. I'm asking you tonight to please fund the GHS pool replacement quickly. My daughter is a current member of the GHS Varsity Girls Swim Team, and they just won their 32nd LL championship yesterday. I'll have to admit, I've been on pins and needles all season worrying that the pool would stay open all season. Thankfully, we're almost there. But the current pool is on its last legs, and the feasibility committee has been working hard for 7 months to determine the best course of action. The BOE will be considering the ed specs for the pool shortly, and we strongly urge you to fund the initial design funding in the upcoming budget and construction after that. The pool simply cannot afford to wait.
Thank you. Rachel Khanna, followed by Khan Aslan San.
Good evening, Mr. First Selectman, members of the BET. My name is Rachel Khanna. I'm the Select Woman-elect for the Town of Greenwich, and I'm here speaking as a town resident. I believe that town residents should have the opportunity to weigh in on the budget as early as possible in the process. And we know, we've heard from some of the previous speakers of the 2023 League of Women Voters report. We know from the report that the Town of Greenwich has about $1.6 billion in capital projects to address. We also know that it's urgent to address many of those projects now. Projects to manage flooding, sea level rise, to address facilities that are crumbling, or needed upgrades to bring us into compliance with ADA legislation. So ensuring that we begin to prioritize projects and give people an opportunity to comment is critical, remotely as well as in person, so we can make sure that all voices are heard. This process could be more efficient if residents were provided with more information in advance, including a full list of contemplated capital projects under consideration, with short descriptions ranked in order of importance and estimated cost. Further, it's difficult, not to mention inefficient, to plan in single-year increments, given that if projects are ranked according to their importance, they will realistically get done over the course of the next few years, not one. Residents should have a clear view of the town's long-term plans. This process should be a collaborative process, and there should be input from the full BET. I urge you to continue to engage the public in discussions on projects to ensure that we have a transparent process with public input. Thank you.
Con Aslanson, followed by James Walsh.
Good, Con.
Good evening, Con Aslanson. I'm a lifelong resident of Greenwich, Connecticut. I'm also the president of the Greenwich Youth Football League. I'm here today to ask that we finish the Western Middle School project and provide lights for our youth programs. Although I'm president of the GYFL, I also represent all the youth sports for this discussion with regards to fall, going into the winter and the spring sports. We are at capacity on the ability to have youth sports out in our public fields. Our Parks and Recs is doing their best to get as much practice time, as much outside time for these kids, which is extremely important. We're at capacity. The only way to solve this is to provide more time on these fields. And with, especially right now, with it getting darker, we're missing out on those opportunities for these kids to be outside and playing sports across all of it. We are also falling well behind other towns in terms of the facilities they can provide. For a nonprofit organization like the GYFL and others in town, everybody's a volunteer. These volunteers are on their own time trying to come out and be coaches and parents and volunteers for these kids. Having to leave work at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock to be able to make it time for practice is extremely difficult. If we have these lights, if we have these facilities, we can extend the time, we can provide more coaches, more volunteers to have that ability. So I thank you for your time. Would love to see some lights at Western Middle School and finish out that project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. James Walsh, followed by Terry Lowe.
Hey, good evening all, and thank you for putting this together. A few things I want to touch on. One, ADA upgrades to our school. This has dragged on for far too long. This isn't a nice to have. This is a need to have. Last year, the reason given was that if we're moving toward ADA compliance across town, there's no fear of a lawsuit. I feel like that is not a good enough reason. Just fund the ADA improvements to all the schools now. It's also important to fund all the facility-related upgrades to our schools and GPS buildings. And I'd like to echo a previous speaker that it would be great to find a long-term solution for the bus parking. Maybe an option is working with the rink committee to incorporate, if it's chosen on one of the 2 sites downtown, to incorporate bus and municipal parking on the lower level, and then you could have commuter parking and then rink parking, and then the rink on top. I think that would be a great, usage of the space and would also solve a parking problem for municipal vehicles. And traffic and pedestrian safety projects. I live in the Lockland Park community in Cos Cob, and townwide bike infrastructure and pedestrian upgrades are sorely needed. It was frustrating that last year to see the BET cut funds to build a small stretch of sidewalk connecting Bruce Park to Exit 4 along Indian Fields Road. As someone who has walked that stretch numerous times, it was a small, inexpensive pedestrian safety improvement that is greatly needed for our neighborhood. And it would be nice to see that. It looks like it's still on a DPW site to see that again. Additionally, many in Lockland Park community would like to not only see a short stretch of sidewalk added to Indian Field, but would like to see a longer sidewalk. 80% of individuals residing between Cross Lane and US 1, when surveyed by our community group, said that they would like a sidewalk in front of their home. Only 7% said they would not like a sidewalk in front of their home. So that would be something great to explore as we move on, more pedestrian safety for the Lockland Park community and a lengthier sidewalk along Indian Field Road. Thank you for
James,
your
just a
time.
quick question. When you're saying the sidewalk from Cross Lane to the Post Road?
To the Post Road,
Yeah,
correct.
okay,
So
yeah.
the homes there, the 40 some of them.
Yeah, we've been discussing for 6 years, a sidewalk for the whole stretch of the road. The problem is not all the neighbors want it, and it would be the taking of a lot of private property. But there are some ways we can actually get something in there, and I agree with that.
Our community group surveyed all of the neighbors along that stretch, and there's a lot of support there.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
Terry Lowe, followed by Lucy Von Brockel.
Hello, I'm Terry Lowe, currently the GHS boys swimming coach. I came to Greenwich in the 1960s knowing that Greenwich was about to build a school with a pool. I never thought that I would outlast the current facility. I can't imagine GHS without a pool, even for a year, as its aquatics teams are probably the school's most successful. And maintaining the continuity of these programs is vital to their continued success. I hope that the town will do everything possible to expedite the construction of a new pool, beginning with the funding of the design phase. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Coach.
sir. Lucy Von Brockel, followed by Amy Williamson.
Good evening, I'm Lucy Von Brockel. I live in Byram. I'm the Chair of District 4 on the RTM. I'm really psyched to see all these RTM members and incoming RTM members here tonight. We all agree that the capital process is broken. I think everybody gets that. And I'm glad that we had this hearing on the calendar. The fact that we have a full room is fabulous. But I do feel like to some extent this is putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. We have a lot more that we need to be doing. And some of the words that came to mind to me are that we need like a collaborative process, a deliberative process, a data-driven process that's consistent, transparent, accessible to the public, and predictable. Laymen should be able to follow what this town does with its budget because we are the people that fund it. Clarity and consistency in terms of how projects are prioritized, it should be standardized. There should be a rubric to some extent, and we can see how you guys are making your decisions. We need to make sure that obviously people want earlier public engagement, and when we do this, we should also feel like what we're saying is being heard and incorporated into your planning process and your funding decisions. We also need to, we also need to know what happens after we fund capital projects, what the money ultimately is spent on, whether we came in on budget, how long it took, and so that we can better understand how to do projects in the future. All of this should be holistic. It should be coming together with this body, with the First Selectman and the RTM, and hopefully we can have a more functional year this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Williamson, followed by Mary Flynn.
All right. Hello. I would like to start by thanking the Greenwich BET for this opportunity to speak about one of the many worthy capital projects within the town of Greenwich. Specifically, I'm here tonight to discuss the Dorothy Hamill skating rink. My name is Amy Hammock Williamson, and my husband and I are lifelong Greenwich residents. In my youth, I didn't spend any time at the Dorothy Hamill Rink. In fact, I spent the majority of my free time in non-frozen water. I was a swimmer. I was a four-year varsity swimmer, and my brother was a swimmer and hockey player. Water polo player at Greenwich High School. Fortunately, I had the really good sense to marry a hockey player, unfortunately, he's not here tonight. Because my husband is actually with my 13-year-old at Dorothy Hamill, even as I speak, at a Greenwich youth hockey practice. But I mentioned my husband because it is because of his love for hockey that has led me to spend so much time at that rink. It is at this rink where I had the privilege to become a member of a wonderful but woefully underserved community. Both of my boys have participated in the Greenwich Youth Cardinals hockey program at Dorothy Hamill over the last 8 years. And I can't say enough wonderful things about the program, the coaches, the parents, the employees that work at the rink. And in fact, I don't have enough time anyway. But I've also spent time at the rink volunteering with the Greenwich Public School PTA. I worked on the middle school hockey challenge for 4 years. And just last year, I did the 8th grade skate night. Shoot. This is a long way of saying that the rink is and can continue to be what this town should want for its children, a safe, wholesome place where they can interact with one another offline. This is exactly the kind of project that Greenwich taxpayers should be proud to support, even if they don't personally have any reason to use a skating rink. I'm not going to waste my time listing all the problems with the rink, and we know that part of why the delays have happened are not solely financial. But I am here tonight to ask the BET to please put the financing of the design of the replacement of the Dorothy Hamill skating rink on its list of urgent capital projects for the town of Greenwich as soon as the current Risk Task Committee completes its analysis. The replacement of the rink has to move forward without delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Flynn, followed by Pam Ferraro, please.
Thank you, and thank you so much for holding this meeting so that we can express our opinions about next year's budget. The first thing I'd like to address is the Nathaniel Witherall. I serve on the RTM on the Community Development Block Grant Committee, and I'm speaking on my own behalf, but this past year, the Witherall requested money to fix their only outdoor space, which has cracked sidewalks and more, which is not good for the elderly or those in rehab. More importantly, they need to reinforce the retaining wall. If you can picture it, it's somewhat like the top of a wedding cake. The entrance from the front of the property is flat. From the building, there's a walkway. It's round, not overly large, maybe 30 to 40 feet in diameter. It's the back wall. I'd say the retaining wall is the back wall is, I'd say, 15 to 20 feet, and that is what's failing. It looks like that area is the only reasonable space on the property for residents to be able to enjoy the outdoors. There are a lot of wetlands. And against advice to the grant committee, CBDG, said the Witherall is a town-owned entity and they should be requesting this money from the town, so they did not grant it. I would urge the BET to supply proper upkeep with funding for the Witherall. They provide physical rehab on an inpatient basis, which is quite convenient. God forbid any of us will need to take advantage of the memory care section, but it's nice to know that it's there and it's safe. Of course, it's also a nursing home which takes care of the elderly and our veterans. I have a lot longer. We spend over $200 million on the schools, which I think is appropriate. I also think that spending less than 1% on mainly seniors and the disabled is a necessity. We need to embrace the community we strive to be. The next thing I'd like to address, is sewage, but I don't have time, so please fix it.
Again, if you want to submit those in writing,
Okay.
you can do so. There's a form on the BET website that would work.
Oh, great. Okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for holding this.
Pam Ferraro, followed by John Fisher.
Hey everyone, Pam Ferraro. I'm a Glenville resident, a member of the RTM for D9, and I serve on the Budget Overview Committee. And I would like to echo the sentiments of others, especially to endorse, as Mary Brown and Steve Waters did, that you guys take another look at the League of Women Voters capital projects plan. I went to their presentation in July of 2023, knowing nothing about capital projects. I've learned a lot being on the BOE, and I find it distressing that we kind of really don't have a great financial plan to address our capital projects. This is a really long list of projects, and we know we can't afford them all at once, so what's the plan? And one of the points in their presentation was a recommendation to create a standard financial model maintained by the town hall with stated assumptions and requirements to aid decision-making. And this came from the observation that there is no agreed-upon town financial plan, and that seems completely inadequate. As James Waters noted, we need to prioritize our plans with updated cost data. And I also would like to point out that I know there is a First Selectmen's Capital Campaign Planning Committee, which apparently has not met since July, and members of the committee have asked when that will convene or what the progress is and have received no response. So please, now that we're about to turn into a new year, let's focus on the plan to get our projects done in a financially responsible manner. Thank you.
Thank you. John Fisher, followed by Mark Valerio.
Good evening. My name is John Fisher. I'm the Greenwich High School PTA co-president. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, my co-president Monica Huang, and the GHS PTA board. We're here to highlight the urgency of the GHS pool project. The GHS pool is used by the swimming and diving and water polo teams, arguably the most successful, most enviable sports programs in the state. And the pool is used for physical education, water safety, lifeguard training, and promoting lifelong fitness and confidence. The GHS pool was built in 1968. It's nearly 60 years old. Only one of the drains works. It has serious problems with plumbing, with the filter system, with building code violations and other issues. Any part of it could fail at any time. It could fail tomorrow, and the pool is already deemed too unsafe for the dive team to use. If any one thing fails, that'll be the end. We'll have a big, old, useless pool building and a decaying, useless pool, a dystopian eyesore at the center of the Greenwich community. The DHS students are championship swimming and aquatics teams, and the community need that pool. Time is not on our side. A&E funding is needed in the next capital budget, and construction funding immediately after that. I also want to call out that the bus parking situation must be solved, and that situation cannot include parking buses at GHS where traffic and parking already exceeds capacity. The town and GPS need to work together to find a solution. If a better solution can't be found, perhaps the GPS Havemeyer property can be paved over and buses can be parked there. That will align with the Havemeyer bequest to use it for educational purposes. Whatever the solution is, the capital budget must include funding for a solution to bus parking. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
It just dawned on me, between Coach Lowe and Coach Kelly here, we have two of the most successful high school coaches in the history of Connecticut in here. There are about 30 championships between them.
This guy's got like 90.
Mark Valerio, followed by Pascal Segin, I think.
Oh, Mark.
Good evening. My name is Mark Valerio. Thank you for all you do for us. Pardon my informality. I didn't know I was going to speak tonight. Otherwise, I would have dressed a little more nicely. I'd like to talk about traffic in town. And I know we have 31 traffic signals between Portchester and Stamford on Route 1. And my background is automotive. I worked for one of the largest automotive manufacturers in the world for 32 years, so I know a little bit about cars and trucks and traffic. And I know, Fred, you've been working pretty hard on getting the signals, the smart signals that will identify if no traffic is coming. It'll allow the cars to move. And that's important because traffic is, as you know, one of our priorities here in town. Just as background, there's 330 million people in America. There's 292 million cars and trucks. And every year in the US, about 16 million cars and trucks get sold, but only 6 million get scrapped. So the net add is about 10 million. And so, once again, I think it does two things. It helps traffic really move, and I think it really helps clear the air too if you're not sitting at a traffic light if no traffic is coming. And the studies say that if you're at a traffic light, air quality is 27 times worse than the open road. So I've talked to Connecticut DOT. I've texted you, Fred, and I know you're working on it. And if we could, as a team, expedite this, that would really be great. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And just an update on that. So as you know, we were the first town in Connecticut to get the smart technology at Exit 3. It doesn't completely eliminate traffic, but it does help mitigate the congestion, and it's worked. I reached out to DOT right after that to request a couple spots on the post road, and they did me one better. They said they were going to do the whole post road from the Portchester border to the Stanford border. That was about a year and a half ago, and about maybe 2 months ago now, they said it was about 12 months away with all of everything. So it's on the way. I'll keep pushing, see if we can get that moved up a little bit, but it is on the way, and that will help. Because if you're, whether you're on the west side of town or over on Havmar Lane on the east side of town, it backs up all the side roads. So it will really help.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pascal Sajine, I think it is.
I signed her up. She's on her way back from a GHS game at Darien.
Okay, we only have one more. Cliff Paulson?
Cliff.
How are you?
How you doing, Cliff?
I also apologize for my attire. I wasn't sure I was going to speak, and although I told my dog, Lab, that he could not attend, he did a good job making sure that he's attending by putting his hair all over me.
He's more than welcome here.
So, anyway, good evening. My name's Cliff Paulson. I'm a lifelong resident of Greenwich. I grew up in Greenwich, and fortunately have 4 children through the school system, 2 at the high school right now, and 2 who are fortunate enough to graduate. I want to thank the BET for allowing me to speak and for us to voice our opinion on the projects. I'm here to support the town for the GHS pool project and funding the design project for it, and also as well as the egress project. The current pool is not in great shape, and the funding of the pool project now will allow us to be proactive in providing a safe pool for GHS instead of being reactive in the issue of a safety concern. So I think it's important for us to get ahead of that. Also, we all see the traffic at Greenwich High School in the morning and the afternoon, and I just think funding this egress project is a huge priority for the town and keeping our kids safe. So short and sweet, thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you. And as indicated, that was our last speaker. So I'd just like to thank everybody for their interest, turning out the great input that we've taken here. And we'll continue to take input. The BET has public hearings after the first selectman and the Board of Ed present their budgets at the end of January. So there'll be more opportunities to speak on things.
Yes, thank you all for coming here, and everything was duly noted, and will go into consideration. So thank you so much, and have a great night.